Hey guys, what is up? This is Matt Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time it is going to be on The Brutalist. This is it. This is the last movie I plan on seeing before making my best movies of 2024. After I review this movie, then that's going to be the next video, I promise. Anyways, this movie is directed by Brady Corbett and stars Adrien Brody, Felicity Jones, and Guy Pearce. Adrien Brody plays escaping post-war Europe visionary architect Laszlo Toth, who arrives in America to rebuild his life, his work, and his marriage to his wife after being forced apart during wartime by shifting borders and regimes on his own in a strange new country. Laszlo settles in Pennsylvania, where the wealthy and prominent Harrison Lee Van Buren recognizes his talent for building, but power and legacy come at a cost. Now, this movie is over 3.5 hours long, and I'm just going to tell you right now, this is the longest movie I have ever seen in the theater, beating out The Irishman by about 6 minutes. So I knew that this was going to be a very, well, I don't really know how to describe it. Basically, there's no violence in this movie. This is not an action film. It is a very, very heavy drama that is filled with scenes of people talking, but because of how terrific everybody is, Adrien Brody gives an absolutely stellar performance, and it's been a while since we've truly seen him in something incredible. I mean, he's always been a talented actor, but seeing him something that feels fresh feels absolutely rewarding in terms of him building his career back up to his roots. Guy Pearce is also terrific as a supporting role, and Felicity Jones makes for a phenomenal lead actress role in this film. And in my opinion, they truly make this movie feel like it goes by a lot quicker because of how stellar their performances are. And of course, it's a movie you really gotta, deep dive into as the story progresses, because it focuses a lot on Adrien Brody building his own world the way he wants it. Basically, this is a much more improved version of whatever Francis Ford Coppola was trying to do with Megalopolis, but it's certainly a lot more than just that. Of course, he tries to be a family man as well, but there are things that go on in his life that definitely isn't always settled. Because this movie splits into two parts. This movie feels a lot like a 90s or 80s film because this movie doesn't take place in modern time. It goes from being from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s. The movie definitely evolves when it comes to, the time passing by. And it does a great job of making it feel like it takes place during those types of times. And I have heard online that they did use AI for some of the images, but I'm going to be completely honest, I never really noticed. It just goes to show that while AI certainly is probably the worst way to make things, sometimes it can work if done right. But, yeah, I'm not going to be super supportive over AI. I still always prefer when people manage to do them by themselves, but the movie still looks incredible. And look, I have made complaints about movies being too long before, but I feel like there are movies that certainly do feel like they've been earned in terms of their length. As long as they know what they're trying to put into their movies, as long as they make it feel like it's necessary, and as long as they still manage to make the movie feel interesting. And despite the fact that there are elements of scenes dragging on quite a bit, there really isn't a time where it just felt boring, because I was interested with the lines of dialogue that were spoken throughout in terms of the movie bringing in its storyline. And it always feels like there's something, that feels necessary to put into the film. And like I mentioned before, because of how nice the movie looks and the performances just being all around phenomenal, I just feel like it really manages to make that runtime fly by super fast. But yeah, for most people, it's probably going to be a snooze fest because they expected a lot more. Here's the thing. This movie has what no other movie in modern time has. It's something that they don't do in movies anymore, but this movie has it. And that is an intermission. That's right. This movie has an intermission in the middle of the film. 15 minutes long, so in total, the movie is really just 3 hours and 20 minutes. But, yeah, I actually haven't gone to the bathroom during a movie since I saw Patriots Day, which was 8 years ago. But because I was able to use the bathroom during the intermission, I didn't feel bad at all. So it made me, want to continue watching the film without having to worry about all that. Even if there wasn't an intermission, I would still very much try to hold it in because I still feel like there was a lot going on with this film, because this seems like the type of movie that would be very hard to make because you really have to, try getting your story right, and you also got to try getting your performances right too, while also trying to add in what exactly is going on and not make it fully confusing, because it never really feels that way. I will say, however, in terms of faults I do have with the movie, would just have to be the last 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes are, okay, so the movie is divided into one part, then two part, and then epilogue. And the epilogue is like 10 minutes long. Just before that, they were trying to build up to something, but it just cuts to those last 10 minutes, which that kind of just over-explains what we were trying to get invested in, but it might take viewers out of the movie those last 10 minutes. Like, it's certainly something that a lot of people are going to discuss after the credits have rolled. Which I will say, it does have a really unique end credit sequence that's kept me staying for the movie by the end. But, that's not important, obviously. But did that ruin anything in terms of my experience with the movie? Absolutely not. Adrian Brody, Guy Pearce, Felicity Jones, everybody is so good in the movie, and I love what the director was doing here. It's beautifully directed. It's beautifully shot. It never feels like a modern film, but always feeling like it took place in the 90s or the 80s, or a movie that came out in the 90s or the 80s, because this movie took place way before then. I should also mention it was filmed on 770 millimeter, which is also very impressive too, as that's pretty much what makes it feel a lot more like a film that would come out way back then. And in the end, guys, The Brutalist, it was certainly worth waiting to make my best movie of the year list, just to see this movie. It might be very long, but hey, if it was just 3 hours instead of 3.5, I would still feel like that's more than enough. Besides, if you took out the intermission, it's certainly not as long as something like any other movie that's over 3 hours and 20. But hey, bottom line is, if you're not into overly long movies, you're probably not going to enjoy this film. But because there's an intermission, I still feel like, there is a good excuse to go out and see it. But hey, if it is, I certainly recommend it. It definitely deserves the nominations that it has received. And I can say without a doubt, it's by far one of the most unique experiences I've seen, because I saw this in IMAX, and the fact that this was shot on 70 millimeter makes it all the more impressive. I had myself a really great time with this one, and despite those last 10 minutes, it still doesn't hide the fact that I still thought the rest of this movie was truly phenomenal, and everybody who made it should be proud. And that is it. It is done. I'm going to be working on my best movies of 2024 list. Expect that either tomorrow or the day after. I'm just so glad that I can finally make it for you guys. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.